Looking to sound like you know what's going on in the world? Pop culture, social strategy, comedy, and other funny stuff? Well, join the club and settle in for the Jeff Dwoskin Show. It's not the podcast we deserve, but the podcast we all need, with your host, Jeff Dwoskin.
All right, Robert, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. You get this show going each and every week, and this week, no exception, my friend. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 49 of Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. As always, I am your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Welcome back. We have a great show for you today. Comedian, actor, producer, J. Chris Newberg is with us. I've known J. Chris my entire comedy career, so it was exciting to finally catch up with him and chat about all the great things he's been up to. And that's coming up in just a few minutes. In the meantime, time to get excited for episode 50. Can you believe it? Next week is episode 50. We've done this 50 times almost. It's a huge milestone. Make sure you follow me at Jeff Dwoskin Show on Twitter and Big Macher, my personal account. Links are in the show notes, of course. We're going to do a cool promotion. I made some Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show mugs. We're going to give away mugs. I know, crazy. Sweet merch. Follow me and get ready to win some sweet merch. And I've got an amazing guest lined up for episode 50. You're going to love it. I'm not going to tell you right now. It's a secret. And I'm going to reveal it throughout the week and closer to the launch of the episode. So thank you all for sticking with me for all these episodes. Get excited for J. Chris Newberg coming up in a little bit. Had a huge response to last week's episode with Ted Neely. Jesus Christ from 1973's Jesus Christ Superstar. Fabulous interview. Check that one out if you haven't heard it already. It's a great, great episode. And you may be asking yourself, Jeff, in episode 48, you interviewed Ted Neely, who plays Jesus Christ. And now you're interviewing J. Chris Newberg. Do you only now interview people who are associated with the initials JC? The answer is no. Pure coincidence. We're on a JC run, but that JC run ends with episode 49. So enjoy the ride while you're on it. However, now that I kind of think about it, niching down wouldn't be the worst thing, just to focus on people that have the initials JC. You got John Cena, Jimmy Carr, James Caan, Jim Carrey, Jackie Chan, John Cusack, Jiminy Cricket. Can you imagine if I got Jiminy Cricket on the show? That'd be amazing. My numbers would go through the roof. When you wish upon a star. Tell me, Jiminy, what was the thinking behind that song? Oh, it would be so cool. Anyway, I can picture it. Live from Detroit, it's the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Today is JC, J. Chris Newberg. That's right, J. Chris Newberg, ladies and gentlemen. I think it could work. I was just handed a letter from my producers. Dear Jeff, it will not work. All right, well, I guess that idea is out the window. You guys can look forward to interviews in the future with any random person. Initials be damned. All right, back to the show. Well, here, mark your calendars every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m., Crossing the Streams. That's my live show. We talk about awesome TV shows and movies that you should be streaming that only appear on the streaming services. Last week, we talked about episodes with Matt LeBlanc, The Winter Soldier, Last Chance U, The Sinner. Check that out on YouTube at The Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube, or follow on Facebook, facebook.com/Jeff is Funny. It's a great show. Huge show. People love it. People love it. You know what I love? I love going on other people's shows. So let me, if you want to see me around, kind of just talking stuff, I was on The Commercial Break, great podcast with Brian and Chrissy. And we talked about dealing with trolls. I did a social media segment on there, how to deal with trolls. So check that out. A humorous time was had by all. I was also on Carpool Shenanigans recently. That's live. Check them out. We talked about conspiracies. I went down a rabbit hole of did we or did we not actually land on the moon? Quite interesting stuff out there about whether the moon landing happened or not. You decide for yourself after listening to that. And I was also on the Funny Science Fiction Show. I actually won a mug and a book, so that was pretty cool. Thanks to all those great podcasts for having me on as a guest. Check them out. Support those shows when you get a chance. And then by that, I mean listen to all my shows and then support their shows. Or whatever. It's up to you. It's up to you. Speaking of which, I do want to thank everyone who likes and subscribes and follows. It's totally free, remember, to follow the podcast on your favorite podcast app, whether that be Castbox, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible. We're everywhere. Check it out. Also, go to jeffisfunny.com, sign up for the mailing list. I send a mailing list out every week. That'll also have some information on the upcoming contest I talked about later. Who doesn't want some sweet merch? That's one way to find out and be at the top of the list of people who can enter. That's what we all want, right? To feel special. All right. So do that. Thank you very much. And now it's time for the social media tip. Real easy one this week. Quick and easy. Grab a pen and paper. All right. Go to your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams, all of them. If they have two-factor authentication, turn it on. That's right. Set it to text or there's sometimes some other options. Whatever it is, set it up. I've been reading too much about people getting hacked and losing their accounts. This will add an extra level of security. Do it. And that's the social media tip. I do want to thank everyone that supports the sponsors week after week. It means the world to me. It really does. The fact that you go out of your way to support the people that support live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show, it means the world to me. It really does. This week's sponsor is staplers. That's right, staplers. Have you ever been staring at multiple sheets of paper and had no idea how you were going to fasten them together? Sounds like you need a stapler. With a manual or electric stapler, you'll be ready to present that presentation to your boss in style. Stop trying to shove metal into your paper and manually bend it. You're gonna hurt yourself. Staplers are made to do all the heavy lifting for you. That's right. Whether it be a desktop, handheld, heavy-duty, or travel stapler, so many to choose from. We've got the stapler for you. You'll look amazing when you present to your boss. Do you know that 72% of all people that present papers to their boss not properly fastened with the stapler lose their job within 7 to 10 hours? That's right, 7 to 10 hours. That's insane. And all you had to do was use a stapler. That's right, so grab the pieces of paper, staple them together, and be confident that you've fastened them in style. Anywhere you work, staplers are there for you. Now in red, yellow, and turquoise green. Look, I used to just do the little bendy thing in the corner, and when I got a stapler, it changed my life. Changed my life. So definitely check out staplers. Available wherever staples are sold. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited now to share with you the conversation I had with my old pal, J. Chris Newberg. Here you go. All right, I'm excited to introduce you to my next guest. He's a comedian, he's a writer, he's a producer. You've seen him on The Tonight Show, Jimmy Kimmel, the Arsenio Hall Show. He's everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my good friend, J. Chris Newberg.
What's up, Jeff? How are you, brother?
J. Chris, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. We've known each other forever.
Been a long time, man. When you mentioned earlier today, you were talking about Star Search, and you were talking about Last Comic Standing 4. Didn't we get pulled over on the way to, like, on 14 Mile or, like, Southfield Road on the, like, early in the morning trying to catch the flight?
Talking about Last Comic Standing? You missed the flight.
I missed the flight. Yeah, I did. But I got there somehow because I made it through.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing that in my face. No, I'm just kidding. I remember that was the only time I ever walked on a plane where I literally walked as they were closing the door. I'm horrible at airports. I usually get there way early.
Sure.
I was running late, and then you missed the flight. And where I was panicked, this was before phones for anyone who's listening.
This was a while ago.
Maybe your rich friends had a phone, but like not normal people didn't have cell phones like they do now. Mark Ridley had, I think, a connection where we were going to be able to just walk in. And I remember you didn't make it, so I didn't know who the connection was. So I'm just waiting in line. Mm-hmm. And I'm waiting in line with this guy, Alan Ball. Do you know who Alan Ball is?
By name, maybe. By face, probably.
Alan Ball is, I guess, in Florida. It was a big deal. Like, you know, like if you would be, like, you would be a big deal in Michigan. He was a big deal in Florida. So this is his hometown. We're in Florida. Was it Tampa? I can't remember what city it was, but it was like the last.
It was Ybor City.
Yeah, and it was the last one. It was the very last one. So I'm standing in line with him for hours until you showed up, right? And like this guy, Alan Ball, is twice he's a big guy, but big like in stature. I don't mean like heavy, like a big dude. Big dude. And so I remember when you got there and you pulled me out I remember the look he gave me was a look like where he wanted to kill me because I'm just a nothing. I'm like a nobody. And he's like the local headliner guy and he can't get into the Last Comic Standing. And here I am just about to leave the line because my buddy J. Chris Newberg showed up and we're going to walk right in. We're going to walk right in. The look he gave me, I remember thinking, I am so glad that I will never see this person again. Except 2 years later, it's Lido Connections, headliner, Alan Ball. He looks at me, he goes, nice to meet you. I go, nice to meet you too. And I just walked away. He's like, you look familiar. I'm like, do I?
No, coincidence.
That was a fun time because you made it through to that night. You made it through to the next level. Right. And I remember I was telling somebody about just the document you had to fill out.
That whole experience, I remember I did it 2 times, and once was in Arizona. And I think Arizona, I made it. But then I tried to go back the next year, and Ant was one of the judges. And I guess Ant heard what I thought of him as a comic out loud before. So, like, the 2 judges outside of Ant were like, he's the best. Let him go through. And Ant was like, no, I'm using my block to stop him. And I was just like, okay, whatever. But that was funny. I mean, like, that was, I think, 2 years after that. But that whole experience, that whole Last Comic Standing experience was so strange because that was like the one in Arizona when I finally moved out here. It was like my roommate was Theo Vaughn and my suite mate was Gabriel Iglesias. And Gabriel ended up leaving because he was like, he got some theater gig and he's like, I'm not passing up $200,000 to do this stupid fucking show. And I was like, good, go. Because I was like, I can't beat this guy. He's the chubby dude who laughs and dances and giggles. You can't beat that guy. You know, Theo obviously went on to have success, but so many people from that class of Last Comic like went on to be just very successful, like Doug Benson and Tig Notaro and Nikki Glazer and Dan Levy. Like tons of people went on to be huge, and none of them made it past whatever, because that was a horrible thing. I remember they shot it at the Alex Theater. Sorry to go on a tangent, I'm just remembering this. They shot it at the Alex Theater in Burbank, and there was 40 comedians left. I went up 39th, and 39th, and they had the same audience. They didn't replace the audience 39th. And if you're watching, that's where I came up with the phrase, comedy is the only form of entertainment where if you watch enough of it, you become angry. And literally, it was like at that point, you can't be like, so how's everybody doing? We're like, fuck you, we're making $10 to sit here. We want to go home. So, have you guys heard about, yes, it's been covered. And then, of course, the person who goes 40th, he's like, I'm last. So that rejuvenates everybody. That's 39th. And I remember afterwards, Gary Marshall came up and he goes, you're really funny. You got fucked. And I was like, thanks, Gary Marshall. It's just such a weird conversation.
That is funny. Okay, so you have Ant against you, and then on America's Got Talent, Piers Morgan.
Piers. That was so funny. That whole thing, I didn't have any idea. I was like, at the time I was reading, I was reading some self-help book, and it was like, study the people who you want to be successful as. I don't know if it was Tony Robbins or if it was like one of those, like, the art of whatever. And I was like, oh, cool. So I did a bunch of research on Sharon, a bunch of research on Howie, and a bunch of research on Piers. I was impressed with the dude. I thought he was cool. But I had no idea that my role immediately was the villain. So I stood no chance. So I went in there and I was all happy. I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're terrible. I'm like, cool. And then he kept hammering me. And I was like, I still didn't get it. My producer didn't tell me I was playing the bad boy role that season. So then I was just so over it. And then that's when Nick Cannon shoves a mic in my face. He goes, Piers Morgan doesn't think you're funny. I was like, Piers Morgan can suck it. I'm like, they're never going to air that. They fucking aired it. And I was just like, and then of course you lose likability from everybody who doesn't know you immediately. And that was just fun. But you know what? It worked out. I mean, I bested that guy at the end and he sent me a very nice tweet. And he's like, you got me. You won. Good work. So it all worked out. It's all TV.
So, okay. So Piers, it's Piers Morgan. When you finally came back after he buzzed you, and Howie and Sharon loved you, and I remember watching this. I remember watching all this. Then you came back and you roasted Piers Morgan as like your quarterfinal thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was great. I love that.
Thanks.
That was so fun.
I was like, I'm going to lose, so I might as well go out swinging.
You got to know Howie Mandel pretty well after that, didn't you?
Yeah, I know his wife much better. His wife ended up being my agent for a while. She's super great. And Howie's Howie. I can't say that I'm close with him or not close with him. We tried to work together on something and that didn't really have any direction. And the project kind of went away. And he's not like the young, hungry television producer anymore. He's the guy who's got one of the greatest jobs on earth. He makes millions of dollars a year to go. Or
thumbs up.
So his drive to help out other comics, you get it. He doesn't need to.
I get that. Yeah, in his heyday. And then he got Deal or No Deal back. I think CNN or something.
He works really hard. He's got several enormous houses. I couldn't say enough nice things about him. You know, it's like the kind of thing where, like, if you're a young musician and you're in Michigan and you meet Bob Seger, you're like, hopefully he takes me on the road. Hopefully we become friends. And Bob's like, good luck. I don't want to do that again. I used to play 7 sets a night in Chicago. No thanks. Good luck. So it's no different.
Yeah, that was me meeting every famous comedian.
Do you remember, like, it was arguably one of the best moments in my entertainment history, and I believe you were there. Robert Klein, Meadowbrook, Ben Konstantin, and like 5 other dudes. Do you remember? You were backstage for that?
I don't think I was backstage, but I think I remember that.
Okay, first off, Ben destroyed. It was like next level. It was like, I've never seen anyone kill so hard. He was amazing. It was like everything, and you knew him very well. It was everything he ever tried to pull off in the club, he pulled off on stage in front of everyone. He was amazing. He was like Michael Jordan of comedy that night. So Robert Klein pulls up in his limo. He opens it, and I mean, either liquor bottles or beer cans spill out of the limo. He's not sober. He's got a cigar. He's maybe holding a brandy. He comes backstage, and he goes, and I remember it clear as day. And everyone's just like, oh my God, this is Robert Klein. He's going to talk. He's going to say something cool. And he goes, which one of you guys won? And Ben was like, I did. He goes, congratulations. Doesn't mean shit. And then he went on this contest rant that was so hilarious. He was very warm and receptive, but he was just like, contests are fucking stupid. This is what comedy's about. And he was like old drunk guy mansplaining. Everybody loved it, including Ben. We all were just like, whoa, that was great. But I'll never forget it. Who won? And instead of congratulations, buddy, doesn't mean shit. It was so great. I was like, wow, because he was honest.
That's funny. Ben was the best.
No question.
Ben, you introduced me to Ben. I know Ben because of you. For those listening, Ben Konstantin, he was a great guy. We lost him to pancreatic cancer. It could have been like 5 years ago already. Time just cruelly goes by too fast. But definitely one of the funniest.
No question.
I actually just posted a picture of me and him in New York. We had met up in New York, and Dwayne Gill was there, and he was really on his way before the fucking cancer showed up. But
talented dude to this day.
To this day. Cheers to him. Let's pour one out. So, what do you get recognized from? One of the funniest things that ever happened to me was involving you. Is I'm in Birmingham, Michigan, at one of these art fairs. And all of a sudden, from behind, this girl taps me on the shoulder and says, "Are you J. Chris Newberg?" And I turn around, I'm like, "What?" And then you're standing behind her. I mean, you would send her to do it.
That sounds something horrible like I would do.
It was just so funny. But like, you've been on so much. Like, I want to hear about your experience on the Tonight Show and all that stuff. But like, when people see you, like, what do they most remember you from? Because America's Got Talent probably was the biggest audience, right? I mean, numbers wise.
Yeah, that was overwhelming. That show, it teaches so many people that they have access to you, and they have access to you in droves, because like, I'm pretty sure I could send Jeff Dwoskin on Facebook a Facebook message with zero difficulty. I would match the face with the TV and send it. Now when you get like 15,000 of those, it's just like, holy fuck. And it's overwhelming. And people just think that, I mean, reality television has taught people that they have the confidence to tell you what they think and it matters. And they give you the opportunity to just be both unnecessarily positive or overwhelmingly cruel. I mean, and you're just like, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and this is my chance to tell jokes for 2 minutes on TV. And you're going to tell me whether or not I can have a career based on 2 minutes? Fuck off. And like, that's just me talking. I swear a lot still. It's great. You're the most famous person on earth for 12 seconds. And it's literally 12 seconds. Because 17 million people were watching it that season. It was huge. And I don't think I ever got recognized more. I got recognized at the airport. I got recognized a couple of times on the road. And it's weird because I'm not really used to getting recognized. And when I do, I'm always pleased and I laugh. But whenever I see someone go, my first thought is, oh shit, am I about to get into a fight? Like, it's not like they recognize me. Like, that's never going to be my first thing. It's because, I mean, it's like, even in being recognized, it's always like the anonymous, you're the guy with the guitar. It's never my name. which is fine. But I did get recognized last week. Actually, I'll tell you my two most funny times being recognized. They're hilarious. So one was I was on a date with Mayim Bialik. Bialik? How do you pronounce Blossom's name?
That sounds about right.
So a friend of mine sets me up with her, and really sweet lady. We went out twice. We had nothing in common. Really, really great lady. Not a bad thing to say about her. So smart. To get the chance to go on a date with her, it was probably four phone calls. She's like, look, and this was when whatever that show she was on CBS was gigantic. So she was like, I really don't like to be recognized. It's a big deal for me. She's like, people get worked up. I don't know what to do with it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. She's like, I want to go someplace where no one's going to recognize me. I'm like, you got it. I'm like, how about, and she lived in the Valley at the time. So I picked this bar off Ventura called like Bo's or something. I don't know what it was called, but I know exactly where it is. And they make pizza. They're a great pizza place. So it's a pizza place. It's dark. And there's this, like when you walk in, there's like big screen TVs everywhere. It's a sports bar. And there's like this deep, dark booth that no one would ever be able to notice you unless they specifically came there to notice you. So I make this big deal to get the booth. And so she's not bothered. And I have her kind of like trapped in so no one can get to her. And I'm protective because I get celebrities don't want to be talked to. Totally makes sense. So the second we sit down, some guy comes up to the table and he goes, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you guys. And she immediately goes, she does this immediately. And he goes, are you J. Chris Newberg? And I was just like, I'm from Michigan. I'm such a fan. You're so great. Blah, 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 blah. And at that point, I think she felt like such an a-hole that we didn't really have anything to connect too much about after that. And then I remember meeting up with her one other time at the Improv, and she drove me to my car and said, do you want to see where I used to live? She drove me by some house near the Improv. I was like, and that was it. But that was hysterical to me that she made such a big deal out of it.
That is so funny.
And that's a 1 in a million thing because she's so famous. She's on her third sitcom now. She's got a new one coming out.
So you dated her during the Big Bang Theory years?
I would never use words like date. I would say
you had meals
dates.
with her. You broke bread with her during the twice. Big Bang. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that's cool.
Nice girl, good mother, very smart, way smarter than me. I mean, one of those people where she starts talking about science and stuff, and you're just like, okay.
She's very Jewish. She probably thought you were Jewish. Newberg.
She's super Jewish. She's like one of the most Jewish.
Yeah, she's like, oh, Newberg. Oh, nice Jewish boy.
Yeah, but that's dispelled anytime you hear my first name. There's very few Jews named Chris.
Very few.
Very few. And if they are, they're vengeance named because the mom was like, oh, yeah, I'll show you. So that was the first time. And then I was standing next to Ken Jennings 2 weeks ago, standing next to him. And Raj, the guy who was our stand-in chaser, comes up and he goes, Chris Newberg? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you were on Confetti. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I played that show all the time. So funny. I'm like, cool. You want to talk to this guy? He's like, just want to say hello. And it was like, then Ken busted my balls for like 2 days.
That's so funny.
He's like, oh, I get it. My name's on the door. No one knows me.
So Ken Jennings, this is your new project you just wrapped.
I wrapped. So I think he's going over to Jeopardy, and I think he's going to end up hosting it. So I think I will have the one season of The Chase that he ended up doing because I think there's no way he's going to do any. I mean, like Jeopardy's a dream job. It's like Price is Right.
Yeah, I think they've announced him as the interim host. I thought I read they were going to cycle through folks, but I always thought he was the heir apparent. You know what I mean? Like,
he's such a fan favorite.
Yeah, he's good. So what is The Chase about, the show that you just wrapped? So we can look
I think it's going to be pretty successful because game shows seem to be pretty popular right now. The show was originally an England show, and then it went to Australia, and then it was on Game Show Network. And basically what it is, 9-episode season, 3 contestants who are strangers work together as a team, first work individually. First contestant comes up, they have 60 seconds to answer as many questions as they can pop culture. Easy, hard, whatever. They get $25,000 for every answer correctly. These are questions for like, what was Beyonce's first band called? And like, what's the square root of something fucking hard? And like, you usually get between $75,000 and $200,000. Now to bank this money, you have to then go to round 2, which is you do a multiple choice head-to-head question thing with the chaser. And the chaser starts off, they'll say, well, you just earned $125,000. If you want to play for that amount, I'm going to be 2 steps behind you. If you want to play for a lower amount, you'll be 4 steps in front of me. And if you want to play a really high amount, I'll be right behind you. You got to beat the chaser to the bottom by answering 5 correct questions. And if you do that, you bank that money. So then all three of the people do the same thing, and whatever the total amount is, then the three of you team up in a 2-minute round to answer as many trivia questions as you possibly can. And then the chaser gets to do the same thing. And if they catch you, you get none of the money. And if they don't, you get all the money.
Is that going to be on the Game Show Network?
No, it's going to be on ABC.
Oh, on ABC?
I think it'll be a big show.
And then Ken Jennings is like the host?
No, the host is Sarah Haynes from The View.
You've produced a lot of shows. I didn't know this. I was looking at your IMDb. You were on Beat Shazam. Is that?
I wrote jokes for Jamie Foxx last season. So all of the intros, I did all those.
Cool. And you couldn't get the weakest link joke for Jane Lynch? the weakest link joke with Jane Lynch?
I would work for her in a second. I mean, like, game shows are, kind of really popular right now. And I think that that's probably a Fremantle show. And I would imagine that she's so successful that she probably brings her own person.
Yeah, no. I was just kidding because she does all those jokes, in the beginning. I guess that's why they're bringing back Match Game, or they brought back Match Game and all those old style ones. And To Tell the Truth, I love To Tell the Truth. That's
my friends they're shooting a new season of it right now.
To Tell the Truth
right now, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. One.
Is that with Alec Baldwin?
Match Game's Alec Baldwin, and then To Tell the Truth is with I don't know his name, but he's the star of Blackish.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Anthony. His mom is the co-host, or she's off to the side.
Yeah.
They got a whole shtick together. All right, so that's cool. So you wrote jokes for Jamie Foxx.
It was strange because I never met him.
Really?
Never met him. Not for a second. He is easily the most talented human being I've ever met in my entire life. I would write the jokes, and he would read them perfectly. And he would read them blind. He'd see him on the prompter. He wouldn't even say scroll for a minute. He'd just be like, go. Fucking hit him. And it was just, he's the most talented person I've ever worked with. And I wish I could have met him, but for some reason I just did not meet him. But I met all 6 of his writers who, worked really hard, and they always travel with him. But I did they wrote their own thing. I wrote the intros.
That's so cool. Okay, let's talk about The Tonight Show.
Okay.
You had a killer set on The Tonight Show.
Thank you.
It wasn't the first time you showed up to The Tonight Show. It wasn't the first time your name was on the door and you were supposed to go on.
No, it was my 3rd or 4th.
You're like, I think, I remember, what was it, two times or something where you went at least beforehand and it didn't happen, and then, or, just...
One time was for Def Leppard's guitar player was supposed to be sick with food poisoning, but he ended up rallying. And the next time was Bobby Brown, just in case he got too fucked up and didn't do it. Both times they were like, it's Tonight Show, I'm doing it. And I was like, Urgh.
So you're backstage just kind of waiting, praying. But the third time was a charm for you, right?
Third time worked. I mean, I'm one of the very few comics who debuted on The Tonight Show as the second guest. So, and that was interesting because I got the call the morning of, because whoever won The Voice was some teenage girl who they didn't think was very good at speaking. So they didn't want to give her an interview section. So it was like they had the guy from Meet the Press on, and then I went second. And I wasn't even planning on doing it that day. I literally didn't wake up with thinking it. I was like, when I got the call, I was like, are they going to bump me again? What am I doing? I was irritated by it because I didn't want to go there again, because you get so excited for it. You're mic'd up, you're ready to go. And next time you're like, oh, so
close.
Yeah, so close. And it worked out, and it worked out very well. And I had a great time, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. It was definitely just something I didn't plan on.
What happened to you after The Tonight Show? What doors did it open? Was it everything you had hoped it would be? And then, or was it, beyond just being an amazing experience doing it?
I don't really think anything opens doors. I think everything opens doors, whether it's big or small. It's you never know who you're going to meet in what situation. It's gone are the days of, obviously people talk about, oh, I did The Tonight Show, and, and then I got a sitcom, and then it was huge. Obviously, those are long gone, and that's not a thing. But it's you meet people when they're working at these different jobs that eventually you may work with again, or maybe they'll remember you for whatever reason and you remember them. I don't really think it opened. I guess so. I mean, it didn't. There wasn't one specific shining moment that made me go, I've made it. It wasn't until a year ago or 2 ago, and I was just I think I looked at my IMDb and I was I've worked a lot and I've done a lot of cool stuff. I'm pretty happy with that. I've been in 3 movies, and they're on Netflix, so it's I'm happy. I can prove that I was. I still get to write jokes for people. I still get to work in television. I miss stand-up like crazy. It's horrifying for me to not be around, but I get it.
Have you done any Zoom shows or anything like that?
I did one Zoom show, and I got banned because I didn't know there was kids on the show. I didn't know there was going to be fucking kids. And I did a joke that was absolutely inappropriate. I'd known there was going to be kids on the show, but I didn't know there was kids on the show. After that, I was just like, I'm not doing comedy in front of somebody's kid lying on the floor in the background. It's not what sorry, someone else can.
To pull in another story about our old friend Ben. Ben calls me one day and he's like, Jeff, I got a graduation party we're going to do together. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So we go to the graduation party and it was a high school graduation. I thought it was a college graduation. It was a high school graduation. And it's like, got like a little Mr. microphone set up there. There's kids running around. I'm like, guys, I only have one set and it talks about hand jobs and blowjobs. I go, what do you want me to do? And they're like, you do it, Jeff. No, you do anything. I go,
do you.
You do you. And like, I go, I can't do me in front of kids. It's not in me. I'm like, Ben, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's happened a couple times where like doing this party and it turned out to be a Hanukkah party and there were kids there and it's like,
it's just not fair. It's not fair to anyone involved. The kids especially. It's like, you don't want to scar that kid forever, and you sure as fuck don't want to do jokes in front of a kid because you're a responsible adult.
That is true.
That happened to me in Australia. I did a military tour, and it was for the Norforce base in Alice Springs, Australia. And I got there, and it was all kids, and I was like, you flew me here for this? And I just tanked it. I think I played like catchy kid songs or something, but I was just like, this is miserable.
To go back in time a little bit, when I first started doing comedy, so just as I paint the picture for the Michigan scene, little Jeff Dwoskin's doing open mics. The big deal in the scene is J. Chris Newberg.
I don't know if that's true, but go on.
No, to me, Jeff Dwoskin, and we met at your CD release party where I think like Martin Butler, that's where I first saw Martin Butler, and I think Ben performed at that show as well. You were just the guy. You were the guy. I remember like, I need to get to know this guy. I need to get to know J. Chris. You were always really good to me. You always, brought me on gigs, and you were always super cool, and you were always very supportive, and I always appreciated that. So I did want to take time to say that to you.
My pleasure.
Your early comedy was a lot of music. I mean, not that you always use your guitar, but in the beginning, like I remember the early ones, it was a lot of very, very funny songs because you came from a band, the Voodoo Hippies.
Right.
Spell it however you want.
Call back.
Tell me, because I don't really know that much about the Voodoo Hippies, other than you were in it. When we met, that was something in the past. But I know it's sort of framed and sort of is a sort of a basis of what you built being funny in front of people on, and then kind of took it in your own direction.
I was fortunate enough to be in a band with 5 of my friends, and we had no idea what we were doing, and we managed to keep throwing things against the wall, and every once in a while something would stick, and we did things right, and we got to do a lot of really cool things, and just kind of like, it was literally the summer of '69. Like, it was literally a Jimmy quit, Joey got married thing, and that's pretty much the whole song. And then I just kept going.
You just kept going. Do you ever miss being in a band and just singing?
No. No. I mean, on stage once in a while it'd be fun. I get to do that, though, when I'm doing music, when I'm doing comedy. I'd like, the last 20 minutes are always music anyway.
Right. That's true.
But like, I don't miss getting off stage and having my ears ring from the kick drum and the side wash and having to drive 2 hours with amps in a van. I don't miss any of that. None.
A little more setup when you're doing a band than when you're doing the stand-up with just show up and where's the mic.
Yep.
So you were also on Jimmy Kimmel, and you were also on the Arsenio Hall Show. Mm-hmm. You squeaked onto that one before it went off the air, right?
Yeah, I was pretty happy about it.
So how were those experiences different than The Tonight Show?
Kimmel was weird because no one knew Kimmel was on the air when I went on. I think I was like the first 20 or 30 guests. I didn't know what I was doing, and they made me do a set that I didn't want to do. So I'm very, very appreciative that set is nowhere to be found. I'm super happy about it. I didn't tank. I just did okay. Arsenio, I remember I had an awkward dismount, but it was still a really fun. It was a fun set. I was really, really sick on the Arsenio Hall. Like, I literally went to the hospital for like 5 weeks, like 2 days later. I like had heart failure or something. I mean, and it's all better now and it's all past, but I remember at the time, I was stuck in an airport in Indianapolis for 3 days because of an ice storm. And then I finally was able to get a plane to like Kansas to like Nevada to LAX. And I got picked up at the airport by the driver because it shot over at KTLA. And I remember getting ready in the back, and I couldn't get over because I hadn't looked at myself in the mirror for 3 days. I was sleeping on the floor of an airport. And I was like so fat, but I wasn't fat. It was just like I had a belly full of water It was just in like my ankles were fat guy ankles. And I was like, fuck, I need to go to the gym. I never even thought I'm sick. I never even put that together. So I remember I remember timing my jokes so no one could hear me gasping for air. It was actually kind of fun to watch because I had the wherewithal to just be like, I'm not letting anyone see me suffer. They're going to laugh because I'm funny, not because I'm like, but I was like leaning on the mic and I couldn't breathe. He was super cool. The experience was really great. And then I got sick and then I got better. But yeah, they were all really, I mean, if you think about it, it's just like when you start comedy, like if someone tells you you're going to do Kimmel, you're going to do The Tonight Show, you're going to do Arsenio, you're going to be on all of these television shows, you sure have that goal, but like the likelihood for most comics is not that.
It's a goal for, I think, a lot of people. I mean, that's quite a resume. I mean, I know you worked so hard to do it. I know none of that was just handed to you, right? I mean, it was handed to you as you worked really hard and earned it. But I
Sure.
mean, you definitely, you moved out there from Detroit. Your work ethic is incredible.
Thanks.
And you write more jokes than anyone else out there.
I do write a lot of jokes.
You like teaching people? I know you do like sessions with people where they learn jokes the Chris way.
I do kind of, yeah. I mean, I like teaching them in Michigan, like for the afternoon one day. But it's just like I don't know if I have the patience for it because it's like I expect people to excel quicker than they do. Some people do and a lot of people don't. And like I really want people who take a comedy class to want to do comedy. And some of them are just taking it for fun. I think that's probably a 50-year-old man approach to whereas my patience for that are just not there. I don't have the patience of a teacher. I enjoy teaching for 3 hours if I'm there, but on a weekly basis, I would snap. Yeah.
Yeah. So you toured with Dane Cook. You've toured with Russell Peters. Like all over the country, all over the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, what do you have to do when you're in another country? I mean, I know people talk about the Midwest is different than the South. So what's the difference when like you're in a completely different country? And
it's pretty similar, except you can't at all talk about religion, like in any way whatsoever. Like you're fine with, like, because the majority of the people that Russell performs in front of are English speaking. A lot of them are expats, ex-military. It's just, it's easy. I remember we did the very first leg of I've toured with him a bunch of times, but I went to India with him and it was in that region. The very first show was in Sri Lanka. And I remember being briefed before the show by 2 guys in machine guns and the promoter. And I don't think these guys in machine guns had any sense of humor whatsoever, but they were flanking him. I said, what can I not talk about? Because you can talk about anything at all, but don't talk about religion in any capacity. And of course, as a comic, your first thought is, well, I can do it. I have a funny joke. It's whatever. I'm like, and I don't remember what the joke was. I know it wasn't funny. But I'm like, what if and he goes, well, we just ended a 3-month-long civil war over religion. So odds are it's not to your advantage. And the people who are here with weapons are to protect you, but the crowd outnumbers you. And I was like, no jokes on religion. But then on top of it, Russell goes out. Jokes on religion, crushes, does whatever because he can. They all paid to see him. It's all comedy. I didn't do it, but you get a really warm response. It's very strange. It's like because in your head you think. I remember we performed at the Dew Arena in Abu Dhabi, which is like a soccer stadium, and it was like over to the right was the king and all royalty, and we were told not to look at or address them in any capacity, which to me meant don't look at them or address them in any capacity. Not going to do it. And then, you've got people with weapons and all these different things around and bomb-sniffing dogs and different things that you're never used to. And you just got row after row after row of people who are just laughing and having fun. And even if they don't get your stuff, they laugh because they're having so much fun that they're outside and enjoying it. It was fun. I mean, to answer your question, it's definitely different, but it's definitely doable. And it's after the first show you figure it out.
I mean, I did Canada, and they were great.
Right. So you get it.
So I get it.
Yeah, you get it for sure.
Done Canada a few times, quite a few times, so.
Quite a few.
I was talking about Zany, and he was on the original Gong Show. You were on the reboot.
I was, yeah. Gosh, I remember that. I remember I escaped. God, there was 3 judges. There was Andy Dick, Steve Scrippa, and Brian Posehn were my judges. And they were like, the second they got up to gong me, I was like, thank you, good night. So they couldn't gong me. Attell was the host. I got to meet him and know him. He was pretty friendly.
Dave Attell?
Yeah.
He's a funny dude.
He's one of the funniest. He's so funny. I had a very nice compliment from him one time. It was the first time I'd ever had a chance to perform with him. I said to him, is there any way that I can go in front of you? I'm really nervous. I'm such a huge fan of yours. If I go after you, I don't think I'll be really self-conscious. I really would have a hard time following you. He goes, yeah, kid, go ahead. I don't care. I went on stage and I performed. I walked off stage and he grabbed me and goes, don't you ever fucking do that to me again. He's like, that was amazing. And I was just like, okay, thanks. And he just like, and then afterwards he came with me in the bar and he's like, I couldn't fucking follow you. Don't ever try that shit with me again. And he was just so friendly. And I don't know if he meant it all, but it gave me immediate confidence.
That's awesome, dude. That is awesome. Dave Attell is like one of those comedians who has like the level of fame, but always seems very approachable.
Yeah, he's super approachable.
I remember being in New York at the Comedy Cellar, and he would always, I was just in the audience, but like he would do sets. He would be one of the people, every time I would be there, he was there. And he would just hang out outside afterwards. You could come up to him and meet him. I remember I saw him in Ann Arbor. I saw Jesse Pop opened, and then it was Mitch Hedberg. Tell you how long ago this was.
Wow.
Dave Attell and Louis Black. It was a Comedy Central tour. That was a great show.
What's Jesse Pop up to these days? He's still doing comedy?
I think so. You know, he wrote for Conan.
Great joke writer.
Yeah, Jesse Pop was always. I remember like my favorite thing was when Mitch Hedberg came out after him and he's like, Jesse Pop, that's one droll motherfucker. I'm like, oh my God, if Mitch Hedberg said something like that about me, I'd be like, that'd be all I talk about forever. The greatest comedian. Love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, so that had been a long time ago. He's been gone a long time. All right, so what else you got going on? You got anything? Oh, wait, there's one other big milestone. I remember this was like a big deal, this milestone, is when you were on Premium Blend. And like, I remember being in I think it was Royal Oak, one of the bars. We had a viewing party. You were my only viewing party
Avenue.
I've ever been to. Where was it?
At Fifth Avenue. Fifth
Avenue, yeah. And like, we were all up there upstairs, and you were on the big screen. Like that.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was great. That's what I mean. But you were the big shot. You were the first. You were on TV. You were all this. You're J. Chris Newberg.
That's me.
That's you.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a long time ago. I remember that. And then I remember, it's weird watching yourself on TV. That's one of those things where like the first time that we had that viewing party, that was fantastic. And I remember when I watched The Tonight Show, I didn't want anyone there. I sat in my apartment by myself, lights off, popcorn, just kind of watching. And then like my buddy Eddie, who was a bartender at the Improv still, I was like, get up here. We're all watching you on The Tonight Show. I'm like, nope. Not gonna do it. And then like same thing with America's Got Talent. It's just like, it's just weird to watch yourself on TV.
It's hard, but like that first time though, that was great. It was so much fun. It was
fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was so fun. So a couple of things that I remember most about you. You and I drove 4 hours to Chicago. We auditioned for Star Search together. Remember this? We literally walked in. We each do like the 90 seconds that we each had.
In front of a camera? Was it in a room in front of a camera?
Yeah. But
yeah, I remember that.
Another hookup though, where we just literally, we got there, we walked in, we did it, and we're like, let's go home. And we literally went home. Two things I remember from that trip though that cracked me up. One is you trying to explain harmony to me. Harmonizing. And two, to this day, I still think about it. And this was like a decade or so, it was forever ago, right? It was your ability as a road comic to get McDonald's chicken nuggets, leveraging the ashtray, the pull-out ashtray with the dippings and the nuggets. Just how you could position everything in that car of yours so that you could eat and drive at the same time and not miss a beat. Like, I don't know why you remember. You remember? Sorry, it's just so stupid, but it's just like I totally remember it.
No, I mean, nugget memory is very important.
Once that goes, what else you got?
Exactly.
This has been fun. I appreciate you hanging out with me, dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
Where can people keep up with you?
All social media, you can find me at The Chris Army. And my podcast is Heroin Has a Great Publicist, where it's usually me rambling or I have guests.
Cool. All right. Keep up with the great J. Chris Newberg. Can't thank you enough for hanging with me.
Thanks, Jeff.
Well, that was fun. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone check out J. Chris Newberg on the socials. Also, The Chase is now streaming on Hulu, so check that show out as well. And if J. Chris Newberg comes to your town, check him out. As we near the end of the show, you know what that means, don't you? That's right. It's time for the hashtag Roundup Trend of the Week, where we pick a trending hashtag from the family of hashtag Roundup games. Follow hashtag Roundup on Twitter at hashtag Roundup. Also, download the hashtag Roundup app at the Android or iTunes App Store. Totally free. Get a notification every time a game starts. Play along, and one day one of your tweets may show up on an episode of Live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show. fame and fortune await you. This week's hashtag is Pandemic Board Games. That's right, Pandemic Board Games from Young at Heart Tags, a weekly game on hashtag Roundup, the ultimate pandemic board game mashup hashtag. That's right. As always, everyone's tweets I read will be retweeted at Jeff Dwoskin Show on Twitter. They'll also be listed in the show notes. Check them out, retweet them, show these tweeters some love. And here we go. Hashtag Pandemic Board Games. Trivial pursuit of paper towels and toilet tissue. Guess who didn't wear a mask? Sorry, I didn't wear a mask. I'm sensing a theme. Homeschooling? That's a new drinking game by Hasbro. Hungry Hippo? But it's just you getting up off the couch for more snacks. These are some great hashtag Pandemic Board Games. House Trap. Shoots and anti-maskers. Rescheduled Operation. And to wrap it up, the final hashtag Pandemic Board Games. High risk, but no clue. Oh, all right. Those were some fun responses to hashtag board games. Play along on hashtag Roundup. You know the drill. Well, thanks again, everyone, for coming back week after week. Can't thank you enough. Means the world to me. Can't believe we're at the end of episode 49. Thanks again to my guest, J. Chris Newberg. Looking forward to the milestone episode next week, number 50. Can you believe it? 50 episodes. And I'll see you then.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Jeff Dwoskin Show with your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Now go repeat everything you heard and sound like a genius. Catch us online at thejeffdwoskinshow.com or follow us on Twitter at Jeff Dwoskin Show, and we'll see you next time.